right, I know you've been wanting some E36 information. You wanted to learn more about what's going on. Everybody's always emailing me, messaging me, wanting to know more about what's going on with the E36. We're finally getting it put together. So Chris from the Third Garage come up from South Florida, and the guys from E3 Customs have also come up to bring me my new seats. But what we're going to take you through here today is the system, what we have, what he's put into this thing. We're going to tune it, RTA it, and show you what went into this decision making. You know, my original plan was to just do some BAF sound speakers and call it a day, and I put them in there and it didn't work, and so then I sent the car down to E3. E3 introduced me to Christian, so he talked me into spending, how much I spent on this thing, 13 grand, something like that. And so now we have Morel speakers and Illusion Audio sub and Mosconi processing. So we'll take you through the whole system, and then Chris is going to tune it, show us how to do that, tune it to my liking. I'm starting to train him. He's always, I'm telling you, I haven't been on the camera, he freaking comes, it's like a magnet.
I'm a mover and shaker, I'm all over the place.
He's nowhere to be found until that camera comes down. And bing, he pops up like a troll under a bridge.
I was watching Fortnite.
Shows up with a plume of drywall dust getting all over the lens and everything.
That might not be a lot.
All right, Chris, before we start RTAing, let's take him through the system. All right, so E36 has these cardboard door cards, right?
In fact, we have cardboard door cards, and we have small mid basses down in the kick panels. In the rear, there's normally a coaxial driver it's actually just a mid-range that's mounted in the rear deck shelf, and we converted that to a coaxial Morel 5¼ inch. It's actually an integral component.
So we have a tweeter woofer,
point source tweeter, point source mid-range speaker in the back.
So do you remember which series we did?
Yeah, so these are Morel Carbon Elates.
And did we do matching, or did we do like a step down in the back?
So in the back, it's a little bit of a step down because I don't believe that they make a coaxially mounted
separate
driver that would work in the application back there. So we went with the best that would fit in the back, which is the Integra Ovation 5¼ coax.
Okay.
And in the front we have 3-ways. The systems run fully active, so we have full control over time alignment on every driver in the vehicle.
So active means no external crossovers, everything's being done by the Mosconi processor.
Correct. So with active systems, we don't have any passive crossover networks. We do have external crossovers in the form of the DSP. So the DSP will allow us to basically control the crossovers, 30 bands of equalization on each speaker in the vehicle. So 30 for the tweeter, 30 for the mid-range, 30 for the mid-bass, 30 for the subwoofer, 30 for the rear speaker.
So you cut out the stock HK locations on my new door cards. We put the Morels in. I wanted Dynaudio, they're too deep, won't fit. So Morel was our choice here. And then is it a 5¼ in the kick here?
It's a 5¼ inch mid-bass, 3-inch voice coil, so it should give us just enough kick down in the front.
Head unit, I did the Porsche design, which is a Porsche Classic.
Yep, the PCCM head unit.
Yeah.
And we did the analog RCM mod. So basically, the Porsche 993s have an amplified system from the factory that uses low-level RCA outputs. So on a specific harness that Porsche sells for applications that put this radio into a 993, they use a harness that basically has RCA level outputs, but without RCA ends on it because it's their Porsche proprietary connector. So we used a connector that plugs into the radio, and then we just soldered RCA ends onto it, and that also has a remote turn on and allows us to use this in any car that we want to.
See, I think although it's Porsche, we had my friends at Sound in Motion took the Porsche logo off and refit, and then it still has the Porsche emblem on load up. And then sub control is where the lighter is.
Yep. So we modified the factory cigarette lighter. So we actually took this whole cigarette lighter apart, and we made a couple custom cut pieces on our laser and a couple different adhesives to turn this cigarette lighter into a bass knob. So
Nice.
When you turn it, you feel the clicks, and each click signifies one notch down on the subwoofer level control. And it blends totally seamless into the interior, you don't see it.
So let's show them the amps and the sub, and then we'll get into tuning. So I wanted old school 90s setup here. You know, I wanted to, but relatively stealth. So single 12-inch woofer right in the middle of the trunk. I'm never going to load this car up with groceries or anything. And so I actually like it without the grill. You'd made a grill for it, but I liked it better without the grill. What's the amplifier and processor? What do we do?
So we have a Mosconi one-line amplifier DSP combination in the car right now. So it's a 9-channel amplifier with the DSP built into it. So it takes 6 channels input from the PCCM Porsche head unit, and then it gives us 8 output channels to power all the drivers that are inside the car. Also, on this amplifier, it has 2 low-level RCA outputs that we use to drive a subwoofer amplifier that's also mounted in here. So we have 1,000 watts from a Mosconi one-line 1,000-watt monoblock that powers the sub, and then we have 90 by 8 powering the rest of the speakers. So the
sub has a separate amp.
Yep.
And then I don't even know any of this stuff. I just have gotten so jaded in my old day. I would have like dictated specific. I said, Chris, just do what you want. He sent me an invoice. I didn't even read it. I just paid it. And so DSP amplifier. So the DSP is in the main amp, the 9-channel amp.
Yeah.
And then that's feeding the 1,000-watt Class D monoblock.
Yeah. So we have 6 inputs coming in to the DSP amplifier.
Yeah.
We have 8 analog channels that go out to power the speakers, plus 2 additional channels that are processed in the DSP that control the amplifier for the subwoofer.
Gotcha, okay. So the sub's not doing any rolling off or low pass crossing over or anything like that.
And the amps are under here. You can
yeah, they're all built into the
This is the monoblock here, and then this is the DSP amplifier here. Just all under that flap.
Nice. So now what we do is tune.
Yep. So to start off the tune, the car, I just set all the equalizer settings on the head unit to flat. So what that's going to do is it's going to basically give us a flat input signal into the DSP.
Okay.
Now what we do from there is we have a microphone that's positioned in the driver's seat that's the same level as the center of your head. So we had Matt, who's your same size, so has your same name, sit in the driver's seat. We measured where his ears were when he sat in the driving position. It's about 6 inches forward of the headrest, just above the holes where the seatbelt would come through on the harness system. And that's where we position the mic. So what we're looking for in the mic is, our initial setup is, we're going to play correlated pink noise throughout the entire system. Now what we do at that point is, we look at the RTA, it gives us a decibel reading, and we level match all of the speakers in the car so that every speaker is playing at the same exact level from the driver's position.
So that's time aligning.
So that's just level setting first.
Okay.
What we do with the time alignment then is we will play the corresponding speakers together. So the 2 front mid basses, we'll play them together. The 2 front mid ranges, we'll play them together. And the 2 front tweeters, we'll play them together. And what we can do from that point is we can basically time align the driver that's furthest away from you to where we have the largest volume in the car. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it, depending upon the results that we get, is we'll time align the speaker that's closest to you furthest away, but we'll flip the phase of the speaker that's furthest away. And what that does is we look for the smallest decibel number that we can find when we increase time alignment.
So are you aligning for center of the windshield or center of the driver's position?
So we align it first for just completely with RTA for levels. So when we get in the car, it'll be about, I would say, if we had to measure it on a spectrum and 50 was dead in the middle, we'd be somewhere between 45 and 55 as far as center goes on the stage. And once we get in the car, you know,
you'll shift it by ear
because, you know, your body is now in the vehicle. Our body's not in the vehicle right now, so there's a little bit of reflections that aren't accounted for. But we can do what's called group time delay, and we can move the complete left side. If we're a little bit off center to the left, we can move the left speakers a little bit further away with time alignment.
Yeah.
Or if we're a little bit over to the right, we move the right speakers a little bit further.
So then you do it by ear, is what you're
And then
saying.
we dial it in by ear.
All right, well, you're confusing everybody. Just do it. Let's show them how it's done.
Confuse myself a little bit. Right?
And the mic's here and what we talked about.
We have Mike's phone taped to the side of the car, and now we're going to play some pink noise. And what the pink noise is going to do is we're going to see on the screen the response of the car.
So you're looking to get flat. Is that what you're looking for?
Initially, yes. And then when we sit in the car,
Yeah.
you'll tell me, hey, Chris, it's a little bit too bright.
Yep.
And then we can taper it down. But once we get it to flat, then
we can adjust from
we
there.
can adjust from there.
Got it. So what I'm saying with flat frequency response, this is like the big thing on speakers online is people will buy like Dynaudio Evokes and they'll modify the capacitors and they'll modify the crossover to make it flat. Dynaudio has a giant room with this giant thing with 1,000 microphones around it where they tune the speaker to sound a certain way. So flat to me is not always better, but flat is where he's going to start. And then I'm going to get in there and say, I don't like this or that, and we're going to tune it, adjust it by ear. Okay, so this is Mosconi's software, this is audio controls.
This is Mosconi software on the computer.
An audio control app.
Controls RTA and mic.
Okay.
So right now, this is raw without any equalization, what the car is doing.
Okay.
So you can see we have a big dip in the mid bass right here.
Yep.
We have a big boost in the lower mid range.
Mm-hmm.
We're smooth-ish across the mid range. There's a lot we can clean up, and then we taper down on the highs, which I mean, that's what most people like. They don't like too bright highs.
Yeah.
So, we're not going to try to boost the highs to be equal to the mid range. That's going to sound very, very brash, very harsh.
Okay.
But we're gonna look for a slow taper. The important thing is we want to have whatever's going on the left side of the car equal to what's going on the right side of the car.
Okay.
When you have a difference in the information on the left and information on the right is when you have skewed staging, where it doesn't sound very defined. Like you'll hear, the center, the main artist in the song, she'll move left to right, like she's walking up and down the stage. When realistically, she's standing in one position. And that's mostly because of differences between left and right information. So
Got it.
that's what we're using the RTA to correct. We want to make sure the most important thing is what's on the left is what's on the right, and they're playing at the same level.
Oh, shoot, this is the same software that I had back when I was messing with this myself in my 2014 GT3. It was the first and only stereo that I did myself.
You weren't thrilled with the experience?
Yeah, it's too much work.
So right now we're just setting everything back to flat.
Get me something. Let me get me a steak is what I need to get. Yeah. I need this Vader width, but the speed height. Well, the seats of my Civic broke in. They'll break in a little bit. Give it a little recline. I'm gonna fall backwards. You might as well go get your money back, Mike. You're not gonna win.
Yeah.
It's not looking good for you. I'm working myself to the point of falling asleep in the middle of the afternoon. Yeah.
What all are you putting in that smoothie? Bananas and strawberries?
This is standard process powder. 2 scoops, a banana, some strawberries, some blueberries, some raspberries, a little bit of vanilla, and some ice. I did a 5 a.m. workout right into a 4,000 meter ski erg. Darn near passed out in the middle of it. Came home, took a shower, brought this car over here, Went home, slept a couple more hours, and apparently that wasn't enough.
So on the chart, we're looking at the frequency response of the left side of the car as it'll play. So you can see we have a little bump in the mid bass because we want to have that solid kick in the music. We're flat across the mid range, and we taper down the highs because Matt's a little bit more, he likes a more neutral sound, not really so bright, not so harsh. So you taper the highs down from about, I'd say about 6,500, and the gradual taper down to, about negative, that looks to be about negative 7 or 8 dB, and about just the equivalent bump in the mid bass. This is what the frequency response looks like before we do the equalization, and this is what it looks like after equalization. From here, once we finish, we get this EQ'd so the left and right match. We're going to go in the car, we're going to listen to it, we're going to do the rest by ear. This isn't a super fast process.
All right, so Chris and Matt just left from E3 and Third Garage. We determined, it sounds fine, it's okay, but it's not, 12, 13 grand okay. It's like $3 grand okay. And the bottleneck, which I was hoping wouldn't be the case, is this head unit. It just doesn't have the voltage output we need to really get the output that we're looking for to really tone down the speakers. I'm not looking for more volume. I'm just looking for a cleaner, smoother. And so remember the Civic, those of you guys who watch us do the crazy Civic system. I did the Sony GX9, RSX GS9. I'm just going to suck it up, lose the pretty for the performance. And so we're just going to pull this out. The Sonys are real clean looking. It still has a 90s look to it because it looks like a 90s stereo receiver or like a surround sound receiver. So we'll put that in here and swap this sucker out. And I'll just sell the Porsche radio. I think that thing was like $1,700-1,800 or something crazy like that. But it's the bottleneck in making the system sound good. So I made a decision. I said, when we're sitting here listening to it, Chris is like, this is the bottleneck. I said, well, what head unit should I get? And he said, well, the Sony, what are the Alpine, blah, blah, blah. This is like $170. I'm like, no. What should I get? And so I'm buying the $1,500 head unit to swap this thing out to make it much better. So doing an audio demo on camera is stupid, but I did wanted to give you a little insight into what goes into getting an audio system set up the way you want. If you don't have a stereo shop right down the street, it's a little bit of back and forth. So the carpet's done, looks great. The subwoofer's in, looks great. Everything's working, functioning fine. I ordered a few parts to get the seat to work with the ECU of the car, the DME of the car, and I also ordered a part to reset the airbag light. And the E36 is almost street worthy. We'll do the suspension, we'll do the polishing and all that, but the audio system is close. Luckily, Chris is cool enough to keep coming back. His family in Orlando, so he's going to come back one more time, and we're going to get it finished. So every day make a little improvement. Never ever completely get everything done. It seems to be the story of the E36. But if I have this thing for the rest of my life, what am I going to do once we're done? So I better enjoy the process. So I'm doing my best to enjoy the process despite my lack of ability to be able to do that fully. So yeah, Vader seats are not for sale. They're going in the attic. They're actually going to my air-conditioned storage unit. They're going to get wrapped up like the E92 seats. And I'm going to hoard those forever. And we're getting, like I said, we're getting close to the E36 being road ready. I'm excited for that, but we got a ways to go. We'll see you soon.